Hello, welcome to Fossilbuster, and today I want to talk to you about a very important topic. That is language goals. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Those goals must be realistic. And I can't say it enough. It must be realistic. By the way, you have to forgive the parrots behind me. They're having their little party. I've just fed them. I hope you can hear me. Now, realistic language goals. Now, the two biggest mistakes for when you're making your goal, the first one is it's too big, too broad, too wide, too big, too large. You need a small, specific goal. Let me give you an example. I get lots of students who come to me and I say, why are you learning English? What's your goal? And they say, oh, I just want to have a normal conversation with a native speaker. Or they might say, I just want to improve my English. Or they might say, I just want to speak naturally. Well, okay. You just want to go to the moon and come back again? I see. You just want to climb Mount Everest? Those are too big, those goals. They're too general. Right? You know, it's good to remember that a native speaking child, like my child, will have taken, in order to be able to speak naturally with complex sentences, might take him between 5 and 7 years, or even longer, 9 or 10 years. And as for learning idioms and vocabulary, he may still be doing that when he's 20 or even later on. In fact, I'm still learning idioms. So your goals must be narrower and shorter and more modest. For example, like maybe you want to understand a food seller when he's selling something to you. What does he say? Or you want to order food to a waiter, or coffee, same thing, or at a takeaway. Maybe at work you want to ask for information from a colleague or a boss, politely. Maybe you're in a supermarket and you want to know where the bakery section is, so you want to ask somebody, where is the bakery section? Maybe you just want to understand the local news programs on the television or on the internet. So the main thing is you need to have small, achievable goals. Now the second thing is don't underestimate the task. Don't underestimate it. That's a very common mistake. I have had a student in the past who was a nurse, and she had actually been here for quite a long time, 7 or 8 years. And she'd done her degree. She completed her degree a year ago in nursing. Excellent. She was a good student. She passed. It was hard, but she did it. But she really is only about IELTS 6.5 still, and she needs a 7. She's been trying to do the test time after time after time. She's wasted so much money, and it's not her fault. She has a busy life. That's not her fault. A very challenging life. But her fault is that she thought she could do it. She underestimated the task of getting the 7. What she should have done, well, when she was studying her degree, was to go to try to the community center and engage with the local community in some way, so she could practice listening and speaking and writing and reading a little bit. She could have volunteered, or she could have got perhaps a small job there, or she could have started a blog or something, or she could have gone to a cooking class or activity or somewhere where she engaged with native speakers. She could have opened a YouTube channel or something. She could have just tried to make friends with native speakers. But you have to do that. You have to be very active. And she didn't actually do this. So, I mean, I don't blame her. She had a husband who was not well, had a health problem. She had a little boy. She had to study her degree, and then she had to do her English test. It's very, very challenging. But your job is to get your goal right, underestimate it. So a year later after her degree, she still hasn't got the grade that she wants. So she's very disappointed and very sad and even depressed. So that's a sad thing to see. Now, where do these unrealistic goals come from? They're fossils. They're fossils. This overconfidence comes from sales talk. Sales talk. From language colleges, on the internet, on YouTube, talking heads, promising you that you can speak the language fluently within 1 year, or perhaps not 1 year, maybe 1 month, maybe not 1 month, maybe 1 week, maybe 5 hours. It's all false. It's not true. And it's all just driven by business, wanting you to pay money to them. That's where this fossil comes from. And it comes from also a little bit from your schooling, where they tell you you can do anything if you study. Well, almost anything. So the other place that you get this overconfidence from is your own self-belief. Many people think, yeah, language? Well, I've done it, I've learned my own language. I didn't even have to study it, It's easy. Well, yeah, as a child, as a native speaker, taking in input 24/7 from your parents and friends and not doing much else for 7 years, of course you're going to be fluent. But that's not the situation you're in if you come to Australia or if you're learning in your country now, is it? So basically, research shows that, let's be practical here. In order to be able to survive, what I call survival English in a workplace conversation, to survive, talking to colleagues, sitting in meetings and understanding not all of it, but some of it, you need 700 hours of contact, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. 700 hours, that's the research which shows it. And the same is true for basic social conversation. That means just introducing yourself, saying who you are, how long you've been here, what your plan is, nice to meet you, bye-bye. Not a deep, extensive, or intensive conversation. I'm not talking about that. Basic social conversation, basic workplace conversation, survival. You need 700, okay, 700. Now, yeah, that should be many people's goal when they come to Australia, I think, first. And that should be your first goal. If you're sitting somewhere in your own country, make that your first goal. I call it basically workplace conversation or workplace or social conversation. That should be your first goal. But then above that, there is what is called fluency. And of course, fluency is really much more than that. And research shows it takes a few years to do that, a few years, different for different people, different situations. I did it in 4 years in Spanish. But fluency just means you can carry on extended conversations with people. But if you really want to be even higher than that, there's mastery. And I've met very few people who have mastered the language, but they do exist. And that takes many, many years. So just to summarize, basically you need to be realistic about your goals, make them short and narrow and specific. And then you also need to be, you have to be realistic, and you also must not underestimate the actual goals themselves. Now, if you have enjoyed this video and the Parrot Party, please like, and I'll be back with another video because I have more to say about goals. It's such an important topic. Okay, see you later. Bye. Please leave your comments on this video. If you want to contact me, you'll find my address in the description below.